Hello everyone and welcome to this session on one of the most important tools used in botanical nomenclature to maintain stability and clarity, that is nomina conservanda and nomina regicienda. In the world of plant naming, it is common to find multiple names, historical conflicts or older forgotten names that suddenly challenge the ones that we use every day. To prevent confusion and to keep the scientific communication consistent, the International Code of Nomenclature provides two powerful mechanisms. The nomina conservanda, or the conserved names, or the names that are officially protected because they are well known, widely used, or essential in literature and applied fields. Even if an older name exists, the conserved name is allowed to stand for the sake of stability. On the other hand, nomina regicienda or rejected names are those that the code intentionally sets aside to avoid confusion, conflicts, and disruption. Together, conservation and rejection ensures that the plant names we use remain clear, stable, and practical for researchers, students, and professionals around the world. Let us explore how these mechanisms work and why they are so important in maintaining the order in botanical nomenclature. Now let us see how the ICN decides on the rejection and conservation of names in botanical nomenclature. Initially, a botanist submits a formal proposal to conserve name or to reject the name. The proposal is examined by the Nomenclature Committee for Algae, Fungi, Bryophytes, and Vascular Plants. The committee evaluates the evidence, historical usage, and taxonomic impact. The members vote for, against, or withhold opinion. A strong majority is required for the acceptance. The accepted proposals are forwarded to the General Committee. If approved, they are adopted at the next International Botanical Congress. The conserved or the rejected names are published in the appendices of the ICN and nomenclatural updates and databases. And later it becomes officially valid and globally accepted name. When we study the plant names under the International Code of Nomenclature, we often come across situations where the old names, forgotten names, or conflicting names can create serious confusion. Over centuries, many plants were described multiple times by different botanists, leading to a long list of synonyms. If we strictly follow their priority rule, the oldest name must always be used. But sometimes that old name is rare, unfamiliar, or never used in modern science. Bringing it back into the use would disrupt the textbook, research papers, herbarium records, and agriculture and forestry. That is why the ICN provides the two important tools, nomina conservanda and nomina regicienda. The conserved names allow us to protect the well-known, widely used names so that they continue to unchanged even if an older name exists. The rejected names, on the other hand, help to remove the confusion or problems names that would destabilize the existing system. Together, these mechanisms ensure that the plant names remain stable, practical, and universally desired. In simple words, the conservation and reduction safeguard the continuity of scientific communication. They help the botanists to avoid unnecessary names, change, resolve historical conflicts, and maintain clarity, naming, and plant across the world. The ICN operates primarily under the principle of priority, which states that the earliest validly published name for a taxon is the correct one. However, the conservation of the names under the Article 14 is a mechanism to override this rule to avoid disadvantageous nomenclatural changes that would disrupt long established usage. The main features includes a conserved name is allowed even if it is not a oldest validly published name. It is used to prevent the unnecessary changes to well established and widely recognized plant names. Conservation is granted only after the review by the nomenclatural committee and approval at the International Botanical Congress. Conserved names by may include the families, genera, species, sometimes the subdivisions of the genera. Selected when the changing the name would cause confusion in scientific literature, education, agriculture, or commerce. A conserved name is usually stabilizes usage by replacing an older, confusing, and or ambiguous name, that is nomina regiciendum. The most prominent examples are a set of 8 flowering plant families where both the traditional name and the modern standardized name ending with ACEAE are considered as valid options. The families are Graminae, which is a conserved old name. The valid name is Poaceae. Similarly, Cruciferae, Brassicaceae, Leguminosae, Fabaceae, Umbelliferae, Apiaceae, Compositae, Asteraceae, Labiatae, Lamiaceae, Palmae, Araceae, Gutiferae, Closiaceae. The International Code of Nomenclature for Algae, Fungi, and Plants has rules for the rejection of names based on some specific technical reasons. The names are rejected if they are the tautonyms, that is, at the species level where the generic name and the specific epithet are exactly the same. The tautonyms are invalid in botanical nomenclature, though allowed in zoological nomenclature. The later homonyms are also rejected. That is, the names spelled exactly like a previously published legitimate name for a different taxon. Similarly, superfluous names are also rejected, where the names are given to a taxon when it already has an existing legitimate name. Naked names, that is, the name published without a valid description, they are also rejected. The names published without fulfilling the other ICN requirements, like being published after a designated starting date like May 1st, 1753, for most of the plants are also rejected. Now, some of the examples of rejected names. The name Acacia scorpioides is confusing and applied to the different taxa historically. It is rejected and the Acacia nilotica is conserved. Similarly, Ficus carica. Several earlier names existed such as Ficus communis, but these are considered confused and rejected. But widely used name Ficus carica is conserved. Hibiscus rosa sinensis. Here the older name is Hibiscus bifurcatus and the older one, but they are not used. They are placed in the rejected list and maintain the stability. Hibiscus rosa sinensis stands as a conserved name. As we come to the end of this session, remember that the ICN provides two powerful tools to keep the plant name stable and meaningful, that is nomina conservanda and nomina regicienda. The conserved names helps us to protect the familiar and widely used names, ensuring that the scientific communication remains clear and consistent. On the other hand, the rejected names allow us to set aside confusing, unused, or conflicting names that would otherwise disrupt the nomenclature. Together, these mechanisms safeguard the stability, support accurate identification of the names. By understanding how and why the names are conserved or rejected, we uphold a system that keeps botanical nomenclature reliable for generations to come.